What? Did we just become best friends? Yeah!
One is a t-shirt queen, and the other is an SEO and web developing ninja. And both of these squirrels are a little nuts. You're now listening to the More Gooder Ideas podcast, a show for the small business hustlers worldwide, encouraging you to be your most authentic self. This is the place where your whole story matters. Come for the tips and stay for the fun. Now, your hosts, Angie Patterson and Jay Smith.
Welcome to another riveting episode of More Gooder Ideas with Angie the Stallion Patterson and Jay, I don't know where I am, Smith.
I didn't know we were doing a bit. Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
That was fucking great. You want to start that over? That was like, damn.
We had a really exciting week last week.
We did.
We recorded our 20th episode, what is I know we talked about it in the episode, but what is the statistic or why that's so important?
So of active podcasts, only 1% have 20 episodes or more.
Wow.
Yeah, of the billions and billions of whatever, I don't know the number. I know it's millions. Of all the podcasts out there, of active podcasts now, only 1% have more than 20 episodes.
Now we're at 21.
Well, yeah. And we just recorded a few, so we're moving right along. We're next stepping now. We gotta crisp it up, and that's where your body just got possessed, and you came out with that amazing intro. Like, can we get more of that? Please?
I got the Holy Spirit in me now, people.
Preach
on. Get on the bandwagon now because we are on the rise.
Right, we will be way too big for you losers here in no time.
Yeah. We also did our first on-site interview. So something me and Jay have talked about basically since the beginning was being able to go to other people's places of business and talk to them not only about their business, but to be surrounded by their business to really get a feel for what their business is. And so we recorded at Arny's Barbershop. They were so gracious. Hopefully you've already listened to it if you're watching this episode, but I just had a really great time there with them. I thought they were naturals. They were so good at it.
They were.
Not so much.
You did fine. What I wanted to do in this kind of quick episode was just unpack a little bit, talk about, what I noticed, what went well, what I want to work on in the future a little bit. First off, the scene itself. So moving forward, if possible, I want to be able to scout a little more and really drill down on all of the aspects. So the table. Yeah,
I think we were so overwhelmed by how cool Arny's Barbershop is visually and aesthetically that we didn't even think about how we were going to put ourselves in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, we don't have a round table like most podcasts where you have several guests talking or
they have those things that
the booms and all that. Yeah, we're not there yet. We're far from that. But yeah, so when it comes to going to KKP Boudoir or Velvet Outlaw or these other businesses that we already have scheduled, even if they were to just kind of, if I don't have a chance to go visit the site first, I'd like to just get them to walk around, shoot a little video with their camera phone, send it to me. Just because I really want to make sure it's the best. You only get one shot, and I think we did, all things considered, we did well at Arny's. We set up how we could, but we were figuring it out when we walked in the door.
Yeah.
Because they had just closed. It's not like we can go in there and disrupt their business through the week, figuring out all these things.
Yeah. And that was another thing too. I think at least I felt like I don't want them to think that we're taking their time for granted by like dragging our feet. Not that we were, but I kind of felt that urgency of like, we have to hurry because I don't want them to regret asking us to come here, basically.
Absolutely. Yes. The last thing I want to do, I mean, the whole point of this is to support small businesses. So the last thing I want to do is waste their time or feel like I'm wasting their time or like you said, take their time for granted. So yeah, I felt a lot of internal pressure, not that there was any on me, but you saw me, I was like setting up like a fiend. Like I was just plugging stuff in and blah, 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 blah. And I think I was up within 12 minutes.
And you did so good. You were so nervous about it and it was great.
I was shocked everything worked. I plugged it in and I pressed it and I was like, really? It works? Okay, let's go.
Whew.
Yeah.
I think another thing, and we talked about this too, is letting the people that were interviewed warm up. They did so good.
They did.
They acted like they had been on a podcast, but I felt like we hadn't really had the chance to warm up. Jay is a magician at editing these, but we do a lot of banter and getting comfortable and loosening up in front of
Sure.
the camera and the microphone. And I think if we would have done more of that with them, we would have been better at engaging with them. They did awesome, but we were like, oh.
Yeah, and well, I think what happens there is, we have spent 40, 50, 60 hours total just talking to each other. So it's very natural for us. It's very easy. We're used to talking to these mics, wearing these headphones, and then we introduce 3 brand new people to it. So it's just it's all brand new. And we tried to come with some prepared questions.
Which is always our downfall.
It is. We did that when we first started this podcast, and it just didn't work. Now with when we're trying to introduce a small business and get people to know them better, of course, there's going to be some standard questions we're going to ask. Tell us about this business. What do you like? What's something in this industry you wish people knew about? Things like that. Tell us about another small business. But beyond that, I will just ditch the questions because I think one thing, and I'll pivot off that to something that I think we did very well, which is very much in line with the heart of this podcast when we started it, and that's to let them talk. So when I really first started wanting to do this podcast, it's because I listened to a lot of podcasts, and particularly ones that focus on small businesses and local small businesses. And one thing that I really noticed was many small business podcasts that bring on a small business owner, they don't get to talk. Like, tell us about your business. Like, I'm at 123 Main Street. All right, great. Here's me talking for 45 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
that's not why I'm not listening to this podcast because it's you. I'm listening to it because I want to know more about my friend's business or this small business in Louisville.
Right. And our viewers already know us.
Right.
They might not know the Arny's crew or whoever else we interview.
Yeah. And the big time podcasts do this very well. Although some of them that I have listened to that are small business focused, they really don't skew towards the guest. And I can see why in some cases, because they're not as comfortable on camera, or you kind of have to pull the conversation along. But
that's what the editing bay is for.
It is. And I want to make sure when we do this, like the whole purpose of us being on site is to really provide a unique experience for the viewer who is interested in that small business to really, if you've never been to Arny's Barbershop or you were considering getting boudoir photography, getting to see what's really going on there and being in their business, because you're going to get a full flavor of what a small business owner is about and what their business is about when you can see in their business, not when they're sitting in our basement.
The forefront of the conversation be about the person we're interviewing.
Yes.
Which I think we did good at that too.
We did.
But I think we definitely could have, we knew what we wanted to talk about when we went in there. So I think we could have organically incorporated it into the conversation more than just, okay, here's our next question. What do you like? Because that's not what we're like. I think it was just like the little nerves.
Yeah.
Which happens.
I was still surprised everything worked. So I never was able to get my feet under me.
Like, I'm in shock.
I was like, I'm going to go in there and they're not even going to have an electrical outlet.
Yeah, well, and I just I was getting so tickled because they were so funny. I'm like, the whole episode is just me cackling because they were cracking me up, which I think is great, but it kind of distracted me from like, oh my gosh, like maybe I should have been more prepared, or maybe I was over prepared.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just be our authentic selves, and give everybody time to, like you said, get comfortable, get our feet underneath us.
And maybe it's a matter of actually structuring just a ramble for 10 minutes. Like, this is, yes, we're recording just in case we get a nugget or for future use, but let's just chat. Let's just riff. And that we just get everything loosened up. They're used to talking. We know how far away from the mics we are going to be. That was another challenge, was we had 3 guests and 2 of us, and the audio interface I have only accepts 4 inputs. So we had, basically 3 people sharing 2 mics, which was a challenge audio wise. I spent the majority of the time editing that footage was cutting sections and upping the audio when they were speaking and downing the audio when we were speaking.
Yeah.
If that means in the future I get us a different interface that can accept more mics, if we move to more of a lavalier mic, which is a pin mic on your shirt, as opposed to these, which wouldn't have quite the audio quality these do, but maybe that's a trade-off we have to consider. Because editing different levels of audio between, it's kind of a pain, and I didn't love it. I mean, it was hard.
I didn't have to do any of that hard work, so I'm like,
Well,
okay, sure.
So one of the good things is, and you know, of course, you all can't see this, but I have a 3-camera Mevo set up, and up until before Arnie's, I was relying on all 3 feeds come into this iPad, and then I have to take all 3 feeds, and then basically while on the fly, I'm doing things like this. I'm switching cameras with my finger, and if you're watching, I'm pressing buttons on the iPad. I'm switching cameras as we're speaking, which is tedious.
It's distracting.
And sometimes I forget that the camera's on you, and I talk for 5 minutes, and it's just you staring at me like I'm an idiot. So I did get a couple of SD cards, and you know, these cameras have the ability to all record independently. So each camera feed is its own file, which made life so much easier on editing. Because, you know, the software I use, it was able to combine one massive feed.
Wow.
And then as I'm editing, I can just switch cameros.
Technology, man.
Yeah, it's tremendous. And I mean,
I saw a difference definitely in the, not like the quality, like the HD quality, but just how it moved as people were talking. It was really good.
yeah, that was all manual.
You go, Jay.
I know.
I'm proud of you.
But then I started playing around with zooming in as someone's talking, and it freed me up to do a little more, because of course I want to learn and get better at video editing as we go, and produce a better product.
It's just coming full circle for me right now, because I remember in episode 1 or 2 talking about like procrastinating and, well, I'm going to wait to do Arnie's until we have the extra microphone. I felt really proud of us that we were just like, this is what we want to do. We're going to set it up and we're going to do it. And if it fails, whatever, but hopefully it's successful. And it was really successful. And we still learned things. There were still things we weren't happy with, but we would have never known those things or learned those things if we would have kept putting it off for whatever reasons we had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that speaks to everything we talk about with small business. Like, a bias towards action is the only way you're going to succeed. Like, you know, falling on your face and failing is the way you grow and the way you get better. And you know, yeah, there were absolutely, as I'm editing, there were definitely things I wish I had done better. I wish I had put the camera in a different position. You know, I wish I had put a little more forethought into the mic situation, or how we were going to approach that, or maybe turned our mics down and turned theirs way up, whatever. But those are things that are going to be more automatic next time we do it, and next time we do it, and next time we do it. So apologies to Arny's Barbershop for being the first shit show that we...
They were so gracious.
Oh, they were.
And they were such great. And I hope that we can come back around and do it again after we've really kind of perfected it.
Yeah.
And not only for us to show off a little bit, but also to hear what's different with them.
Sure. Well, they have a new barber joining them.
Right.
Like right now. So it'd be really cool once she's kind of, you know, in the mix and has a regular clientele. And then we can do kind of a, you know, before she joins and then after she joins. So yeah, there's definitely a built-in opportunity if we haven't burned that bridge forever.
We love you, Arnie's. We hope you're still watching.
Yeah.
They did like our Facebook page, so I'm taking that as a win. And I felt really thankful that they, because you were pretty transparent with them about the level of our professionalism with podcasting, and they still were like, come on.
Yeah.
And they were doing it after they had got done of working all week. They stayed. They had other commitments, and I just felt like it was really gracious of them to give us that opportunity. And they showed us a lot of grace in us setting up and stuff that. So
they did. And I think my only concern moving forward is that we may have been a little spoiled, in that it's going to happen that we're going to talk to somebody who's not, and this happens in podcasting. Like I've talked to podcasters who won't even air an episode, that just put it in the can on the shelf just because the guest, the conversation never went anywhere.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, whether they get business coaching or they take some course or something like that, they're told, hey, to elevate your brand, get on people's podcasts, borrow their audience. It doesn't necessarily mean they have the ability to do that very well, or to just speak on the fly or answer questions organically or have a natural conversation, as opposed to, just I sell cars at 123 Main Street, that kind of stuff. That's going to happen to us, particularly because of the way we approach people and get them really, yeah, right. We love bomb people. I mean, I did it in court, and like, I got us like 5 podcast guests just by walking around, and like,
and we have no idea who these people are. So
no, they could be crazy. But no, there's some really cool stories out there, and like just talking to people, and it's easy to get them all excited and say, hey, we should do this. This is really going to help, your business, and it gives you plenty of social media fodder. You get in front of our audience, we get in front of yours. It's a lot of fun, yada, yada, yada.
I hope that people will see the episode we did with Arnie's and be excited to come on our podcast, and that hopefully that would predisposition them to maybe be a little looser and open with us.
Well, I think if they, so I know, just naturally, even when we first, because we're new, yeah, it's 20 episodes, but we're, we've got like 75 people checking us out regularly on Spotify. I don't know about the rest of the platforms. It's too hard to keep up with. But a lot of these people will never have any experience with More Gooder Ideas until we approach them. We say, hey, we really love to do this. And then they will go check it out.
Yeah.
So then that's what happened with Arny's, because I'm a regular, and I talked to them, and they started watching our episodes, and Sean Marie even brought up one of our episodes, something we were talking about.
But that was one of my favorite parts.
And maybe when we approach somebody and would say, hey, it's going to be a really good idea if you watch several episodes. And maybe Cassidy can help us with curating maybe a short list of these are the ones you should watch to really get what we're about.
A highlight reel, if you will.
Yeah, this is who you're about to talk to. And, if you don't come with that same energy, it's not going to have, not that we're going to overwhelm somebody, but you want it to be, this is your one shot, essentially, to show what your small business is about in this forum.
And that might help them come to the come to the table with something that maybe we haven't already seen before.
Sure.
And that's what I think Arnie's really gave me a lot of hope and excitement going forward. Because we learned things in like the technical aspect and stuff and what we could do better and all those things. But just learning about them and learning our commonalities and learning about what makes them unique, but also how we're kind of the same too, and having those connections was so fulfilling. And, we're really lucky that we haven't been friends for a super long time. So we still have that with each other too, but eventually we're not going to have that anymore.
Right. I'm already bored of you.
There's not going to be any surprises left. So I really look forward to finding more small businesses that we can get to know and that we can showcase their platform and, make those connections. I've said this a bunch, but like connecting the dots that really tie all of us together as entrepreneurs.
Well, and that's like you said that during that episode, and that blew me away.
Jay.
Well, it makes perfect sense, and it's right there in front of you. But it's like something you hear, it's like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
And you said it, and I was like, damn, that is brilliant. That is exactly it. Like, no matter what small business you're talking to, there are all these common bonds, regardless of your industry or the size of your audience or whatever. There are things that you deal with, that I deal with, that Arny's Barbershop deals with, that Subway deals with. And there are commonalities there. And I know we've kind of talked about this where, especially in networking, in my mind, it's really important to absorb things from people who are not in the same situation as you are. Like you and I, our businesses are significantly different.
Yep.
And I think it's far easier to learn new things that we can apply to what we do when we do that. If all you did was hang out with other t-shirt makers, that's all you would know. And you all wouldn't recognize that there's probably a pretty graceful solution to an issue you all face, but someone else's.
Arnie's is so different from what both of us do. So it was kind of like that the third leg we needed.
Yeah.
And I look forward to finding other small businesses that maybe aren't at the top of your mind when you think of small businesses or entrepreneurs.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, specifically with Arny's, like as barbers, as hair artists, if you will, I think people forget that they are their own business,
Sure.
even if they're working in a shop or at a location. They are entrepreneurs. They are their brand. They are their own small business.
Doing their own social media, creating their own merch.
Yeah.
They're doing everything. They're doing everything we are. They just have a physical location.
Yeah. So I think that I'm really looking forward to finding other businesses like that, you know, I'm just looking forward to it. It just gave me a lot of hope. Even with all the things that we took away from it that we want to learn and do better, it really made me feel super excited about all the different things we can do going forward, and that hopefully will give value to all of our listeners too.
Sure. Absolutely. Like that's what I think is really unique about it. I haven't seen, of course I've seen on-scene podcasts, but I haven't really seen this specifically. Where the focus is as much as possible within that business. Yes, of course, you know, if we come across an entrepreneur that wants to be on the podcast who's like us and works from home or works remotely, of course, we'll bring them into the studio and talk to them here. But I think that just, you know, if we were to do 10 episodes, all of them in a different business in their business, that's just such unique content. And we would learn so much about them.
Yeah. If you have a small business that you would like for us to showcase, or maybe you know of a small business that you think would like to be showcased on our podcast, you can send us an email at moregooderideas@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on social media on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review if you like what you heard. Give us 5 stars.
We're on AOL Messenger.
If you don't like our podcast, we don't need to know. And
Tumblr. Dribble.
MySpace.
Boom.
Buy Me a Coffee.
Blogger.com.
LinkedIn. FarmersOnly.com.
Temu. We got a Temu page. I don't give a shit.
You can send us something
Did you
from
say
our Amazon.
Did you say the farmer dating app? Those are the best commercials in history.
Jay is a cowboy hat guy now. So
I am a cowboy. I have boots now, too.
Oh, shit.
That's right. I got cowboy boots.
We should have led the episode off with that. I'm Angie.
And I'm Jay.
And we will see you next week here on More Gooder Ideas Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the More Gooder Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at More Gooder Ideas, and search us up on Facebook, the More Gooder Ideas Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.